This tale has been nothing short of explosive from the earliest rumors. Relationships are already scrutinized in the realms of hip-hop and romance. However, with rumors of divorce and the drama takes on a life of its own as accusations of an affair begin to surface. Timelines are overflowing, fans are giddy, and everyone has the same query. Has Kendra truly discovered who she is? In a startling relationship with Kirk Frost? Since this goes beyond a troubled marriage, the stress could not be higher. It concerns treachery, loyalty, and the hazy boundaries between companionship and more. No one anticipated the amount of backlash to be this severe when fans witnessed Kendra lash out at Jock for making her seem bad online. However, rumors are now becoming more widespread, and the rumors indicate Kirk's name is at the heart of it all. Fans are left wondering if the foundation of these marriages was ever as strong as it appeared on film after this type of discovery. As feelings run wild and it is difficult to ignore this drama as factions start to emerge, the spotlight intensifies and the issues remain unanswered. Hold on tight, for what follows might completely alter your life. No one anticipated that the tension between Jock and Kendra would explode in such a public and explosive fashion, even though it had been simmering for weeks. A few thoughtless statements put online started it all, a moment of annoyance that descended into conjecture. In his own words, Jock's defense said that his sole goal was to get Kendra's attention. However, the harm had already been done. As the couple's personal problems were abruptly made public for everyone to analyze, fans watched in shock. However, rumors about Kirk Frost surfaced just as it appeared that the couple was going to argue again, and things took a turn for the worst. It was more than just a spouse making fun of her online for Kendra. It was about devotion, respect, and the ongoing sense that her wifely efforts were being disregarded. She had supported Jock through innumerable hardships, endured rumors, and maintained her focus on advancing her job and raising her family. However, she was surprised to learn that Jock had used social media as a weapon against her. The shame was no longer limited to their house. It had turned into a discussion about blogs and timelines. Following that, there were rumors and mutterings about Kirk Frost that threatened to add fuel to a fire that was already burning fiercely. Fans were unable to assist but make the connections. Kendra's tone was harsher, her tolerance thinner, and her fury appeared to run deeper than normal. People started to wonder if there was more to the tale. Was her rage related to something far more complex? Or was it just about Jock's internet antics? At that point, the word affair began to infiltrate the discussion. Abruptly, Kirk's in unexpected ways, Kendra's name was being referenced alongside hers. Furthermore, it is practically hard to put the term affair back in the box once it has been used in the context of hip-hop and love. The rumors became more widespread as individuals remembered how frequently Kirk and Jock met: parties, studio sessions, and business meetings. Each of these men knew the others well. However, families also overlap with friends, and lines may become hazy in ways that cause permanent damage. Supporters started questioning if Jock's impetuous social media remarks were something other than irritation set it off. Did distrust already simmer under the surface between him and Kendra? Had Jock himself heard rumors that linked Kirk and his wife in ways that would account for his impetuous actions? Even veteran fans were somewhat aback by the harshness with which Kendra snapped at Jock during one especially heated discussion. Her voice trembled with anger and disappointment as she replied, "If you can't be the husband you're supposed to be, then go away and let me develop more. Don't try to trick me. Take your baby mothers out to play." Fan sites were rocked by such remarks, which led to discussions regarding her true intentions. Was she avoiding a more serious issue that she didn't want to express out? Or was this only about Jock's disrespect? Kirk, meantime, ended up in the focus of unexpected talks. The conversation brought up his prior controversies, his history with women, and his tense marriage to Rashida. Fans felt that it was nearly too simple to feel that Kirk may be caught up in a situation that could endanger the marriage of another spouse. Some others thought it was absurd that Kendra and Kirk were even connected. However, for others, it was precisely the type of startling turn that reflected their world's erratic vitality. Conversely, Jock found it difficult to understand everything. He acknowledged believing that he was always guilty unless proven innocent in intimate times that were caught on video. "Not guilty?" he mumbled, his face furrowed with fury. "I need to be able to redeem myself," before she began discussing divorce. However, there was irony in his remarks because Kendra was also facing her own guilt. She was aware that she had used divorce as a weapon when she felt vulnerable and had flung the word around too frequently. However, this time seemed different, heavier, like if her marriage's foundation were crumbling under her feet. When Jacques brought up his impending vacation to Puerto Rico with Scrappy, the situation became heated. It exacerbated the stress rather than reduced it. Kendra's face flickered with mistrust as her eyes narrowed. She screamed, "Who are you going with?" in a voice filled with charge. Although Jacques clarified that it was for Scrappy's celebration, the harm had already been done. Every action he took appeared to hold a hint of treachery in her thoughts. Everything she spoke sounded, in his opinion, like another nail in the coffin of their marriage. The way Kirk's name kept coming up behind the scenes was something that fans missed at the time. Rumor had it that Jacques had been talking to Kirk about his difficulties and asking him for counsel, which might not have been as beneficial as it first appeared. Offered his own problematic past, some even conjectured that Kirk could have offered Jacques the wrong type of advice. Fears rather than soothing them. Others went a step farther and said that Jacques' online tirade may have been stoked by a preconceived notion that connected his wife to Kirk in ways that no husband would ever want to consider. The mistrust and implicit accusations that pervaded the air around them became thicker. The couple's friends observed Kendra's growing distance and the way her once unwavering support seemed to falter under the strain of ongoing humiliation. They also saw Jacques' rapid retaliation and refusal to accept responsibility for his behavior when requesting his wife's allegiance. Because of the imbalance, they were both on the brink of their relationship's ability to weather the next storms. Rashida's quiet was deafening throughout. When her husband's name was brought up in another incident, this time involving a friend's marriage, fans questioned how she felt. Did she feel ashamed, furious, or secretly concerned that history was being repeated in ways she couldn't control? Her lack of participation in the discussion only increased interest, as people guessed if she was keeping silent to keep her family safe, or because the rumors were more personal than anybody had thought. The drama was no longer just two persons. It was about how friendships, families, and entire social circles may be affected. Fans were captivated by what started as a thoughtless internet remark that turned into a flurry of accusations, every turn and anticipating who will eventually speak up. And one question continued to be louder than the others as the dust refused to settle. Was this the start of a scandal or simply another untidy altercation that may destroy several marriages? Jacques and Kendra were surrounded by a storm that would not go away. Additionally, the whispers became louder every day. Blogs began to gather bits and pieces of the drama and piece together their own theories on what may have gone wrong. Fans who were certain they knew the truth flooded the comments with shock expressions, fire emojis, and never-ending conjecture. None of them could deny how Kirk Frost's name kept intruding into the discussion and drawing him more into a story from which he was no longer able to break free. At the heart of it all was Kendra's battle with an emotional storm she could hardly control. She had based her life on professionalism, knowledge, and discipline. However, she was being pulled through a circus of humiliation in front of the public. While speaking with a close friend late at night, her voice broke. Acknowledging her weariness, she said, "I can't continue to be the strong one, because he always does something that undermines me just when I believe we've reached a corner." Her buddy advised her to step back and concentrate on her own health. However, Kendra wasn't certain she had the fortitude to leave a guy she still loved, even if that love was hidden under layers of deceit and suffering. Pain and a trail. In the meantime, Jacques was making an effort to publicly dismiss the reports, but he was feeling crushed by the weight in secret. His rage simmered near the surface and his pride was hurt. He paced the room during one conversation and slammed his phone down. Told one of his guys in a rage, "My wife seemed to be running about with Kirk once they brought her out here." "That's crazy, dude." It's unbelievable that people actually think that. But the fact that he spoke it out indicated that he had thought of it himself. Doubt had spread. And in calm times when he was by himself, it nodded at him despite his best efforts to ignore it. Kirk himself was unable to avoid the spotlight as the allegations circulated. After years of attempting to repair his reputation following previous scandals, his name was suddenly connected to infidelity claims once more. His expression was filled with frustration as he and Rashida sat down in their living room. "Why, they always got to put me in somebody else's mess?" he asked. Rashida's quiet spoke more than words could. She folded her arms and pushed her lips into a narrow line. She eventually responded, "Perhaps because you had previously given them sufficient justification." Kirk couldn't ignore the truth, but it was a blade of reality he didn't want to hear. The response from the fans was unrelenting. Every moment was broken down by Twitter threads of Kendra's contentious exchanges, analyzing her remarks as though they were hints to a more significant enigma. Fans speculated that she was avoiding something far more serious when she added, "Go play with your baby mamas," in a footage that was aired over and over again. One reader said that she snapped too hard, like she trying to cover something up. Another said, "No, she just got tired of being disrespected, but it's crazy that Kirk's name is in this." The controversy continued, and the narrative gained momentum every hour. Kendra struggled behind the scenes with the sense that she was engaged in a multifaceted conflict. She was attempting to maintain her job while attempting to save her honor and salvage what remained of her marriage. However, with Kirk's name hanging in the air, it seemed as though uncontrollable forces were dragging her reputation down. Her eyes were tired, but her tone was keen as she faced Joss once more. "People are saying things about me that aren't even true because you constantly making me seem bad online. How does that feel, do you know?" Jock reacted quickly and defensively. "How does it feel for someone to even suspect that you could be playing pranks on Kirk?" The allegation hung between them like smoke as the room fell quiet. Kendra's jaw tightened and her face stiffened as she suppressed her emotions. She muttered, "It's unbelievable that you would even say that." "That's your opinion of me, despite everything I've done to demonstrate my commitment." With sadness shining in his eyes, Jock wiped his brow, but his pride prevented him from, "I'm sorry." Instead, he whispered, "I just don't know what to believe anymore." Their trust was eroding one after the other as a result of the encounter. The rest of the cast started to feel the strain. Scrappy got caught in the middle as Jock's close friend tried to keep things light, but ended up getting pulled into awkward conversations, he said to Jock during a studio session, because these rumors don't cease once they start. And Kirk's name in this, it will become much more well-known. Jock shook his head in frustration, saying, "But what am I meant to do, bro? Sit here looking dumb." Knowing there were no simple solutions, Rashida was becoming more and more irritated with Kirk's silence while everyone talked about my wife and my homeboy. "You need to speak up," she urged him forcefully, "because people are dragging me into this mess right now too. And if this isn't true, then you need to make that clear." Not going to allow them to treat our family disrespectfully once more, Kirk paused, unsure whether to remain silent or to acknowledge that doing so would only make him appear guilty. And the burden of his previous transgressions hung over him, making it fans found it more difficult to believe him. As the drama developed, the mood at parties grew tense, and when Jock and Kendra entered a party, everyone was watching them and whispering. Crowding the room like vultures, and the appearance of Kirk and Rashida further fueled fan speculation about whether the couples would face off head-on. The atmosphere was charged with excitement, with each side-eye and sharp. When Jock went in close to Kirk and said, "You better hope this ain't true, because if it is, that's the end of everything," a heated moment nearly erupted. Kirk retaliated with equal heat. "Man, don't blame me for your marital troubles." The brief exchange was enough to shake the group to its core. By this point, supporters were split into groups. While some praised Kendra's courage for confronting Jock's rudeness, others accused her of concealing secrets, citing the rumors involving Kirk as evidence that there was more to the tale. Social media turned into a battleground, with every new video or rumor igniting new disputes and debates. Then there were some who viciously criticized Kirk, criticizing him for his past and accused him of being unable to avoid trouble. Kendra started to wonder how much more she could handle until something inside her cracked as the strain increased. She mentally rehearsed the arguments, each one harsh words that echoed like an unhealing scar. And in private times, she confessed to herself that she wasn't sure whether her marriage could withstand this. Despite her doubts, however, a part of her, the primary question that hung over everything, was no longer only about Jock's social media post. It had evolved into a deeper one, and they continued to hope that there was a path forward through all the craziness. The stakes had never been greater, with Kirk's name now interwoven into the story, as Kendra grappled with issues of loyalty, respect, and if trust could ever be restored once it had been broken. For Jock, every rumor of treachery eroded the basis of his pride. And for Kirk, each day that went by without a definite conclusion was like walking across a minefield, never knowing when the next explosion would occur. The lines were formed, the whispers were becoming louder, and the families caught in the crossfire were left wondering how much more harm could be done before the truth was revealed. Denial just pulled him more into the flames. One thing became evident as the drama progressed. This was not simply another altercation. Rather, it was a scandal of such magnitude that it would alter friendships, marriages, and reputations in ways that no one could have foreseen. The couple's energy had drastically changed, and the uneasiness was visible to everyone around them, not just the cameras. Feel it. Jock and Kendra were no longer just arguing spouses. They were two individuals trapped in a toxic environment of distrust and animosity. The individuals closest to them could no longer deny how serious things were getting, and the weight of Kirk's name only made the pot boil over quicker. One evening, Kendra sat by herself at the dining table, scrolling through her phone as remark after comment flashed across the screen. Convinced that the affair allegations must have some validity, fans scrutinized every word she spoke and every emotion she made, but one message in particular stopped her cold. Her hands trembled slightly, not because she believed it, but because she detested how convincing it sounded. Kendra was moving like a woman with secrets. Nobody snaps that hard unless they're concealing something. She dropped her phone, covering her face with her hands. The strain was oppressive, and despite her best efforts to maintain her composure, the story was becoming increasingly uncontrollable. Jock was pacing in another room, fiercely. His pride had been so severely damaged that he was getting more and more enraged every day. Every rumor he came across and every sly joke made by fans about Kirk and Kendra felt like a personal jab. "You don't understand, do you? People out." His voice was piercing and full of accusations when he finally faced Kendra. "They think I'm some idiot while you're going about with Kirk behind my back." "They're laughing at me here." Kendra's eyes widened in shock, and her chest constricted as she turned to face him. How dare you even say that after everything I've done for you?" She shouted, her voice low and scathing. Deteriorated rapidly, with voices rising and words flying like daggers. "You put our business online and now you want to blame me," she said. "You embarrassed me first." "Because you don't act like an innocent person, Kendra." Jock threw up his hands in disgust. "You deflect and dodge every time I ask." "Why? Why can't you just tell me the truth?" "Because no matter what I say, you'll distort it." "You've already determined I'm guilty," she said, shaking her head and breaking her voice. Kirk and Rashida were engaged in their own silent struggle in the middle of this tempest. She had remained calm for as long as she could. But the persistent rumors about Kirk and Kendra made her tolerance wane. And one night she addressed him in a cold tone. Kirk touched the back of his neck, his head, and asked, "Are you aware of what people are saying about you?" "About us?" Rashida's eyes furrowed and she said, "It's not true, babe. You know that. You say that now, but how many times have you said that before? How many times did I have to hear the same words when you were deceiving me?" Her voice shattered like glass. "Face?" Kirk had no response. The room was silent. Denial. When video of Kendra confronting Jock appeared, the fan base erupted in conjecture. The type of quiet that shouted louder than any denial. Theories sprang in the comment sections, each one more dramatic than the last, with some fans swearing that Kendra's anger was the anger of a woman who had been falsely accused. Some thought her rage was a facade, a last-ditch effort to divert attention from the reality. Others were totally focused on Kirk, bringing his past back into the forefront and wondering if he had ever changed. Scrappy, whose nerves were raw, sat with Joke and attempted to calm him down as the noise increased.